Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Israel Brief, brought to you by Lay of the Land, and I'm your host, Rolene Marks, bringing you the top stories making headlines in Israel. And today's top story is that in the early hours of this morning, a car ramming attack injured two IDF soldiers. Other soldiers were able to open fire on the attackers, killing two and injuring one. Now, the attack took place in the town of Naima in the northern West Bank, very, very close to Ramallah. And on initial investigation, Palestinians in the area said that this was not a deliberate attack. Rather, it was a street known as Death Street. However, on close inspection, it was found that the three terrorists, the two which had been killed and the one that had been wounded, had prior to that thrown firebombs at Israeli soldiers, and the IDF did come to the conclusion that this was an intentional terror attack. Staying with the Palestinians, and the U.S. consulate in Jerusalem has effectively closed, and the role of the consulate will be effectively absorbed into the U.S. embassy, which is also in Jerusalem. Now, this, in a sense, downgrades the relations between the U.S. and the Palestinians. However, the State Department has said that this does not change official U.S. policy on the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. Rather, a Palestinian affairs unit will be established inside the embassy, which will take care of the interests of the Palestinians. It also must be reiterated that the current administration, the Trump administration, takes no position on final status issues, saying that this is subject to final status negotiations between the two parties, between Israel and the Palestinians. And last but not least, and here's some good news for a change, and that is that Israel has been voted the world's 8th most powerful country. So in a survey of some 80 countries, an international publication ranked Israel 8th, and this was decided on economic influence, political influence, the power of the military, and very important international alliances. Now, some of Israel's detractors would say that Israel is becoming increasingly more isolated in the world, and obviously this couldn't be further from the truth. Every day we are hearing of new countries that are opening up to bilateral relations with Israel, especially on the African continent, and a visit by the Liberian president has just concluded. The continent is opening up, and to be ranked 8th most powerful in the world, a country barely the size of New Jersey, and having alliances, international alliances being part of the criteria, well, this says that Israel is pretty well poised. So those are some of today's top stories. And don't forget that you can check out Lay of the Land, our website, at www.layoftheland.online. That's www.layoftheland.online. Today you can read the report by NGO Monitor, which takes into account some of the accusations made by the UN Human Rights Council, and it gives you the Israeli side of the argument. Also, don't forget that you can like or follow us on Facebook at Lottel Site, as well as subscribe to receive your daily edition of the Israel Brief by clicking on the subscribe button below or on the little bell for notifications. So just a recap of those top stories, and that is that two IDF soldiers were wounded in a car ramming attack in the early hours of this morning. Two of the assailants have been killed and one injured. The other is that the US have closed their consulate in Jerusalem, and this effectively downgrades relations between or diplomatic ambassadorial relations between the US and the Palestinians. However, that will be absorbed into the greater embassy. And to conclude with the good news, Israel has now been ranked the 8th most powerful country in the world. This is the Israel Brief. I'm Rolene Marks, and we'll chat again tomorrow.